Jessica sat alone in her small bedroom, the ticking clock on the wall doing nothing but reminding her how slowly the days passed now, outside. The sun had long since disappeared behind layers of grey clouds, and the rain tapped a soft rhythm against the window pane. The world kept spinning, people kept living, and yet she felt like she was suspended in time, frozen, numb, forgotten. There was once a time when she was full of colour. She used to laugh so loudly that it made people turn their heads in cafes. Her friends used to call her sunlight, because no matter how hard things got, Jessica found a way to smile, to comfort, to bring warmth. But something inside her had changed. No, it hadn't changed, it had shattered. She didn't even know when the breaking truly began. Maybe it was in the little things, the moments where he stopped asking how her day went. The nights when he rolled over without saying good night, the mornings when he was too busy checking his phone to look her in the eye. It wasn't one big explosion. It was 1,000 quiet silences, 1,000 missed chances to love her, and she absorbed every one. At first, she told herself it was just a rough patch. Every couple has them, right, but then the distance became the new normal. The coldness in his voice wasn't temporary, it was permanent. She found herself apologizing for needing attention, for wanting affection, for simply existing with feelings. It felt like no matter how small she tried to become, it still wasn't enough for him. She was either too much or not enough, and either way, she was always the one trying. She remembered the night it finally broke her. It was raining. Just like tonight, she had made dinner, waited for him, lit candles even though she hated the smell. She wanted to feel like they still had something, anything. He came home to us late, no excuse, no explanation, just walked past her and said he wasn't hungry. That was it. She stared at him in silence that night, something in her chest tightening like a fist. The food went cold. So did she that night. She cried quietly in the bathroom so he wouldn't hear her. That was the moment she knew he wasn't coming back. Not physically, he was there, but emotionally, he'd been gone for months, and still she stayed. Because broken girls often believe that if they just love a little harder, if they just stay a little longer, they can fix what's broken. But what happens when the only broken thing is yourself? Jessica stood in front of her mirror now, staring at the girl who stared back. Her eyes looked tired, hollow, like something had been drained out of them. She used to wear bright colors, put on soft makeup, play with her curls. Now her hair stayed tied back in messy buns, her clothes hung off, her shoulders like weight she no longer carried. She had faded. She reached out and touched her reflection. "Who are you?" she whispered. Her voice cracked under the weight of her own question. Somewhere deep inside, she remembered who she used to be, a girl who danced barefoot in the living room just because the music moved her. A girl who wrote poems about stars and dreamed of backpacking across countries she couldn't even pronounce. A girl who believed in soulmates. But that girl was gone now, buried under months of disappointment, neglect, and emotional erosion. It wasn't just about him. It was about how she lost herself trying to hold onto someone who never reached back. And she hated herself for it. She hated how she lowered her voice to keep peace. How she laughed at jokes that made her feel small. How she let him decide how much of her was worth loving on any given day. How she stopped asking for more because she was tired of hearing, "You're too sensitive, you're overreacting. I'm just tired." But she wasn't crazy. She wasn't dramatic. She was just a human, a girl who wanted to feel like she mattered. A girl who wanted to be seen, not glanced at, but truly seen. Jessica walked back to her bed and sat down. The silence of the room felt like a scream. She used to fear being alone. Now, she feared what she might say to herself in that silence. She opened her journal. It had been weeks since she last wrote in it. The pages smelled faintly of lavender. It was a gift from him back when things were better, back when he used to notice her. She flipped through old entries, happy ones. Ones where she wrote about holding his hand, about laughing under the stars, about the way he used to say her name like it meant something. She had clung to those memories like lifelines, but now they felt like stories from another lifetime. She picked up her pen, her hand trembling slightly. Then, slowly, she began to write. I don't know who I am anymore. I keep trying to find the girl I used to be, but she's hiding. Maybe she's scared. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's just waiting for me to stop choosing people who don't choose her back. I want to believe I'm not broken, but it's hard when all I feel is the weight of not being enough. I miss being happy. I miss being free. I miss me. Tears blurred the words, but she didn't stop. She kept writing, page after page. It wasn't poetry. It wasn't beautiful, but it was honest. And in that moment, honesty felt like the first brick on the path back to herself. For the first time in a long while, Jessica allowed herself to cry loudly. Not the quiet tears she wiped away in silence, but deep, shaking sobs, the kind that leave you raw, exposed, and strangely lighter. She cried for the girl who waited too long, for the woman who felt invisible, for the love she never received, and for the version of herself she hoped to meet again one day. As the tears slowed, she sat in silence, her journal open beside her, her chest rising and falling slowly. There was still pain, still confusion, still a long way to go, but there was also something else, a quiet defiance, a whisper that maybe, just maybe, she deserved more. Maybe she wasn't broken. Maybe she was just bruised, and bruises heal. She wiped her face, exhaled deeply, and whispered to the night, I'm still here, and that, for now, was enough.